Evening Bellingham, March 17, 2025, 7 p.m. Board of Selectmen meeting. If you can join us, the customary pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
There you go. Thanks, Okay, the first one is on our agenda this evening. On a Bellingham public hearing notice in accordance to with the Bellingham Code of Bylaws, the Bellingham Select Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, March 17, 2025. And that's, it says 24. Hillary, that's a typo, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
25 at 7 p.m. in Municipal Center, Arcan Meetings Room, 10 Mechanic Street, on the application of J.D. Raymond Transport Incorporated for box storage license at 169-174 Maple Street. Any updated on that?
Yeah, so JD Raymond has asked to withdraw their application without prejudice at this time, so I just needed a motion.
So moved. Second.
We got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Lavashy?
Yep,
She said aye too. Okay, ayes have it.
And that's due to the fact that I know it's a project that's been with us for a long time and it's been a source of contention, I know, with the planning board but they're doing some work, have to have some things that they need to complete prior to applying for that bulk storage license. So they're working on that and they'll be back once all those items are completed.
Is this a renewal of their bulk storage or a new one?
No, it's no.
It's new.
Mhm.
But part of the decision through the land court protected their rights to this
So they can still operate without this bulk license, correct?
Well, they are.
Technically, they are, but that's why I'm asking, because technically they are operating.
Yep. Yeah, they have been operating and I don't know if we want to get into, Rob, if you want to explain to JD Raymond, what it is that they've got to do, not to put you on the spot or anything.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, the planning board did issue an approval for a development plan approval. I think it was back in 2021. Which did go to court and there were a few conditions that were struck related to their existing use. Because the courts felt that it was a pre-existing non-conforming use and it was above the board's purview to start conditioning the use itself. So with that, the intent of that approval was to construct a stormwater management system on site and do some other improvements, including screening, to scenic roads. So there's some scenic road requirements as well. So they actually just finished up the last of their permitting with the planning board last Thursday, actually. They received their scenic road permit. So what you can expect to see in the coming months would be stormwater basin will be installed. There's going to be all landscaping installed along the front, as well as a stone retaining wall with I think it's 6-foot height wood timber sound wall and fencing that's opaque, so you won't be able to see inside when it's closed.
But part of the decision that they got through the court was that they are able to continue doing what they're doing.
That's why I asked. 'Cause
Yep.
They are without the bulk storage frame. No
Yep.
problem. Yeah, I do have a question. I know that goes back a number of years. There were a lot of meetings. We talked to them about changing their entrance and egress out of the piece because of the way these large trucks come out and cut across the entirety of Maple Street. And it's a problem. It's an issue. Anything along those lines that we force them into? Because we had talked a lot about having them sort of exit like along Maple Street, coming out, so they're not coming out across and cutting across. Because that
Yeah.
happens quite frequently.
Yeah,
Talked a
and
lot about that. So nothing was done.
no, there was, if I recall correctly, during the development plan approval process, which mind you predates me even.
I know,
being planning
I understand it
board,
does.
But looking back at the records to try and get familiar with this as they were in front of us just, the last couple of months. They did submit, it was truck turn templates as part of their development plan approval. And one of the items that they did was expand the gate access so the truck had more maneuverability. That way they weren't coming in straight and had to like go
Coming out
over.
straight.
Yeah, so that way they have options to actually kind of come out at an
Yeah.
angle, but
If they're going north on Maple Street and you've got that curb, it's kind of blind when the foliage is all there. The car's going too fast.
mhm.
It's really tough if they're out in the middle of the road. It's
Yeah.
tough to see.
The gate will also be set back a little bit too, because there's gonna be new landscaping along the frontage, so like, the pavement's gonna come back a bit. And, I don't know if the gate location moved, I'd have to double check.
That was one thing we did discuss.
Yeah, I imagine if it was discussed, it most likely occurred, but I can verify that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Talk later, sorry.
no, definitely, it's
I
fine.
wouldn't count on that. If we talked about it, doesn't mean it got in there.
Any other
No,
questions,
I'm
Martinez?
good.
Um,
I did a
so
motion to close the public hearing.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to, close the public hearing.
Someone.
We got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Sotobaschi? Okay, she said aye too,
Yeah.
so ayes have it. So the next one is, so we also have that, am I right? Okay, perfect. So the next one is on the agenda, town administrator search discussion, and tonight we do have Mary Cardi from Edwards Collins Junior Center for Public Management. How you doing tonight? Good, I
Come on up and
know,
have a seat right there.
Okay, yeah. I wait to tell where I'm.
Oh, yeah,
You
have a
know,
seat right there.
I'm a rule follower. Don't tell my husband. Great. My voice. This is a lot of technology for me.
Me too.
So, Mary, I know, we had a really nice conversation, as well as you had a conversation, multiple conversation with Dennis. And, if you want to just talk about, yourself and then, what you're trying to do here, and then, we'll like get the ball.
Great. So what I will do is first I'll introduce myself. And then I'll just walk briefly through our scope of work, which I believe you've all had a chance to look at.
Mhm.
And I know timing and how long it will take is an issue, so I will address that, and then I'll just answer any questions. Very straightforward. Unfortunately, you've had some recent experience in doing this search. So I will not bore you to tears with a typical approach. A little bit about me, my favorite subject. I am the HR practice leader for the Collins Center for Public Management. We have been in existence since 2008. I joined in 2009 when my kids were very young. They're now 25, 22, and 20. So it was a great part-time job, and now I'm paying for college, so it's a great full-time job. The job I was able to quit to be home with my kids because I couldn't afford daycare anymore was the HR director job in the town of Watertown. I was there for almost 9 years, in Barnstable before that, in Wellesley before that, and with the state DPW before that when I was in graduate school. And I'm dating myself because it hasn't been the state DPW since Governor Weld got elected. So if you do the math, I'm 60. Because as an HR director, we tell people not to ask their age, but then you say what year you did everything, so that's how you figure it out. The work that we do at the center and in HR, a lot of classification and compensation studies. I want to thank the town is always responsive when we do salary surveys for people, and that just is so helpful to everybody. Organizational reviews. The other areas of the center are things like we do a lot of financial planning, a lot of charter organizational work. We're getting more and more in Western Mass, specifically into regional and shared services. Things like we're doing a Berkshire County shared ambulance, 37 municipalities. So that's pretty exciting, out of necessity, quite frankly. So one of the most important things in a municipality is having the right leader, and you all are very spoiled. So you've had somebody at the helm for a long time, and I do understand you've been through it. We call them unsuccessful. We don't call them failures, okay? Because there was good work done in each one, and you had a screening committee and a consultant. we're friends with, the other consulting firms. So our process is a little bit different. So what we would do, and you've already done a lot of the legwork on creating what your town's profile is. Most consultants do a similar thing. Some might have shiny copies, some might have links to things, but what we want to do is to target the people who are interested in this particular job, not just any job. I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. Oh, how many resumes are we gonna get? We don't care how many resumes you get. It's about, do you have enough to make a decision? Because you're only gonna hire one, and that's important. We don't go for volume, we go for quality, which is why we don't recommend, Monster. I was gonna say Monsters Inc., Indeed, or even Tell I Have Children, Monster, things like that. But we do target on LinkedIn. We have an extensive network. We've worked in 275 of the 351 municipalities. I'm at about 170, directly. So we have a lot of contacts, but also sometimes the best person look for a job is not looking for a job. And those are the ones that we need to attract and target. I think I joked with Dennis, we haven't done a search in this area recently. So we're not opposed to poaching somebody we may have placed years before. We promise we won't poach somebody that we placed in the last 3 years. So that's a good thing, because that's not fair. We want people to serve out a contract. And that's fair, and people have professional ethics on things like that. So our process is, you've done the legwork, we would create a profile, we have the data, you own the data that you used for your previous ads, which is why it cost us a little bit less, because you've already done some of the work that will save us some time. However, it's been many months since you did that. We would want to check base with each one of you. What's changed? Is there something new? What did we learn from the previous searches? What did we see in candidates that we liked and didn't like? So that will help us do some more targeting. And then what we do is we work with the screening committee. We strongly believe the screening committee is the best avenue. They do really good work for you. It certainly gets more people. You will get more interest if you have a screening committee, because people are really anxious about confidentiality, and having the ability to go through a preliminary round in executive session is a huge benefit for people. It takes more time, but you're going to do it right. We have twice done direct recruiting. I have to tell you, our lens is not your lens. It's not a screening committee lens. We can check off the box of do they meet the qualifications, but so much is about fit and culture and climate. So we've stopped. We only did it a few times, but we will only work with the screening committee. And if that's fine, if you don't want that, but we would withdraw our proposal. Because it's really valuable. So we will create the profile, we will bring it to this board to vote on universally, because it's too important to delegate that to a subcommittee. Really, we want the full support of the board saying, yes, this is what we are looking for. So that's really important for a board as well, to be on the same page. You can have nuances in between, but really the bottom line of what are we looking for. We use that as our marketing and contact tool while the position is being advertised for 4 weeks is the sweet spot. Some people say it's got to be 5. That's too long. 3 seems too short. So we tend to advertise for about 4 weeks. We always say the review begins on a certain date. Somebody's on vacation, they missed a deadline. It's not about catching somebody and missing a deadline. We want to cast that net as wide as possible. We want to include people. And that's where your screening committee comes in. So while the job is being advertised and we're doing the direct recruitment, and we do a lot, we will advertise in the ICMA and in some of the regional organizations. But we have found, targeting some of the professional organizations, things like, planning directors, we're seeing more and more planning being interested in town administration, finance directors, school business managers. School business managers happen to be married to a retired one, so I'm a little biased. You know, they do a lot. They're doing budgets, they're doing HR, they're doing, you know, so that's been an interesting pocket. Some large Department of Public Works have a lot of the same skill set. So we're finding we're going for the competencies. You're not a very large town though. So we certainly recommend that you require municipal experience. Some people say, oh, it's running a business. We've got heavy, you know, strong department heads and assistants. That may be true, but there's so many, we call them nuances, not quirks in Massachusetts, because we love our forms of government, but, it's a culture shock if somebody is not even familiar with it, because you can't rely on, with turnover in some of these jobs, the depth of knowledge. So during the recruitment, we will work with the screening committee because we don't want to waste time until we have the resumes. We work with them to have them develop the questions, and those should be based on the profile that you say you're interested in. It's a nuance and it may sound like semantics. We recommend the team is called a screening committee, not a search committee, because you are the appointing authorities. You know, they're laying the table with candidates for you. We don't recommend they come up with favorites or rank order or anything like that. We recommend that they recommend a slate of equally qualified. We only want you to get the A candidates. We don't want to say there's A and B mixed in. So that's where we do a lot of good work. Once we receive the resumes, we put together and we use confidential links and all. One thing about the internet is that it has gotten better. We used to print all the resumes and mail them. So it is much more efficient and it's easier on screening committee members. So what we do is we often get asked, will they see all the resumes? Yes. We will give them every resume that comes in. We don't screen anybody out. It's their judgment. We're the facilitators. It's them that are on the screening committee. Now, I will tell you, we have a wealth of knowledge. We know any red flags that might be out there in the business. You know, some might say I'm a stalker, but I think that I am great at municipal geography. And, you know, I could name that tune and where that person was. And we just did it with my namesake here. Like, no, I met him there. And then, so we do, that is something that we do pretty well. So we will work with the screening committee. We don't say, we will put together a packet of all the applications that come in. Before we even meet to review them, we give a simple survey and we say to them, answer this question. Do you want to meet this person? And the answer needs to be yes, maybe, or no. Just happened in a search I'm doing for a library director, 7-person committee. They had 12 strong candidates and 4 were all yeses, 4 were all no's, and then they debated and decided on 6. So the reason we do it that way is sometimes, and I'm sure it never has happened here, when there's a committee, there might be a more robust extrovert like me on a committee, and others don't feel comfortable sharing. By getting the mini rating or vote ahead of time, it lays the table for their conversations about what's important. Because what we discourage screening committees to do is fall in love with their best candidate, because they're looking at paper and then they've met them for one interview. We make the analogy to dating. The screening committee is dating, then you get engaged to become a finalist, and then you get selected. So it really is where are the decision points? So what we do is we facilitate those meetings. We work, there does need to be a chair named who can post the meetings and all of those things, but we do all the work on it. Then what they will do is come up with who they believe should meet the board. Now, depending on timing, our scope does include doing backgrounds and references on the people that you will see. Many organizations like that, so that the full backgrounds will have been done before their names become public. We don't want to embarrass anybody. And we have a strict release that we have people sign, that we can speak to anyone, not just who they list. We rarely speak with the people we list. We usually call one so they know we're checking. But we use a vendor who checks federal, state, Corey, verifies education. And we'll do, for this position, we would also do a credit check. Now, just to tell you up front, we don't share those reports with you. It's our release, but we will tell you, and we will work with the screening committee if there's any red flags, so that that doesn't get to your level. If in fact, the screening committee wants to send you 5 candidates, haven't seen that happen in about 10 years, we would say, let's do a round and then have you all come up with finalists from a semi-finalist. But some of those are game time decisions, and we will be communicating with you on that. So that is our basic straightforward process, and I'm happy to answer any question.
Dennis, would you like to add anything?
No, I think it's an excellent scope. I think we've tried the consultant only, we've tried the screening committee only, and a hybrid model. Collins Center does a lot of good work and very familiar with them, and I think the board is as well. If you read the Beacon or the MMA, there's always things that are being advertised there, so they do great work. I know Michael Hale he's gonna be the lead, is that right?
He will be helping
He'll
me
be
in
helping.
developing the profile, so thank you for mentioning
Yeah.
him. My colleague, Michael Hale, longtime Shrewsbury Assistant Town Manager. He used to work years ago with Mark Morse when he was doing, if any of you go in the Wayback Machine with me, the MMA Consulting Group. Michael did some work on the side for him, and he retired from Shrewsbury a few years ago as the general manager of the electric light company.
Mhm.
So he joined us, and he has a wealth of knowledge, has huge contacts, and he helps with the interviews of you all, the touching base with you all, and crafting crafting some of the language of the profiles. We have an extreme, depending on which profile I sent you, probably 2 different versions. We have a much more modern one, which has more links in it, and that's a different associate who works on the technical side of things. I couldn't do a publisher document to save my life, but that's why we have good people, because we can do the blend of it. And we've actually made it a lot easier for people to apply in terms of, click here and, I can't get past 2 clicks some days, but, we provide it all different ways, and we do require a cover letter, which some don't. You want to see how somebody writes, and, I can't tell you, well, I could tell you how many times I'm happy to apply for this town manager position, and it's a town administrator. You want somebody who wants this job, and they need to get it right, and we need to get it right of what they're walking into. It's gonna be a challenge having somebody fill the job after a long serving, well-respected person, but there's people who are out there. We're seeing a bit of a shift. In the past 5 years, there've been some newer town administrators who now might be able to move on with the experience you will need. So we'll have to debate what level of experience you want, but that's what we'll talk about. It's a great town. I will say, if we're going by what you advertised the salary at the last time, you're certainly in the ballpark, you know, so, we have faith that you will be successful. And I think that, spring is a new hope for a new opportunity, so.
Fantastic. Mrs. Altamonte, do you have any questions?
No, I was very impressed by all the information that was provided in the packet, so, and I think the one thing that stuck out was one of the best candidates is the one that's not looking for a
Right.
job, I thought that really resonated.
Yeah,
with me.
yeah. I will credit my colleague, Richard Kobayashi, who taught me that when I started, so it's very true.
Yeah, be interested to see how we move forward.
Awesome. Mr. Mar-
Yeah,
Mr. Martin?
I guess the question I have, Mary, thank you for being here tonight, is the timeline. So, you know, I read the timeline, and I know this is just sort of, you know, like an average, you could put any month in there, go month 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Correct, and we usually do, but
Yeah.
people were worried, so I added the months.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I
it's a
think
guess.
the important thing for this town, having been through it too, is to make sure that we don't have an unsuccessful third time. So to me,
Me too.
I don't want to rush this through just to say, hey, we got this done by town meeting, or we got this done by election, or anything along those lines. I think irrespective of all of the key activities that are happening in the town over the next few months, that it's important that we do a thorough process. And I have been since day one, going back a couple of years ago, in favor of the way you're structuring the committee, which is a professional like yourself and a screening committee. I've always felt that way from the very beginning. So I'm really happy to see that that's your way of going about it, because I think that's important. I think that the community members, and we have 3 members of the committee that was with us the last time around here. They did outstanding work.
Great work. It is hard
They
work.
did
Really
outstanding work, and they were very committed to the
And
community.
they're here to volunteer again.
I hope so.
Okay.
So I just wanted to get a general sense. I mean, this is ideal, but I personally don't see us being able to find, this is a tough time. You have town administrators that are in the middle of budget season. You have town administrators or managers that are in the process of getting ready for town meeting. They, like you said, they may not be looking for a job, but at the same time, if you were to reach out to them, they may say, hey, Mary, I'm really interested, but I can't even think about this right now. I have a commitment to the town that I work for that's paying me. Am I right in thinking along those lines?
You are.
Yeah.
And it's not an automatic, let's change the schedule.
Right.
It might be, well, it might be we change the schedule. I wouldn't say, advertise in June. because I
No,
think
I'm
you
not
lose-
suggesting that.
Yeah,
What
but
I'm,
I don't want to be naive to think that there might be roadblocks.
right, but I also don't want to say month 4, we're gonna be done, because you see finalists announced and interviewed. That's not, we're not putting that on you, see, that's it, drop dead. We have to have that by
Right.
then. We're not saying that. That's what
Right.
I want to make sure that we're clear that, you know,
And I believe
I
I
agree we
say-
start now in March and April. I absolutely
Yeah.
agree with that. That we should start the process.
Well, realistically,
Yeah.
here we are in the middle of March. This job is not getting advertised before April. We still need to do the profile. You need to see the profile. You need to vote on the profile.
Right.
You know, it's too important to get it wrong. You know, this is a big investment by the town. It's important. And the fact that you've had a few glitches, it's even more incumbent upon us to, you know, make sure we're doing it right,
Right.
which is why I hesitated on some searches will do 3 weeks. That's not gonna be enough time. You're right. People, we're now at, we're gonna be at April vacations, spring breaks, budget hearings, you know, different town meetings, different town elections, you know, the focus can be tricky. So I think I would like to say, and again, we say in our timeline anticipated, these are some of the delays that can happen. I like to take it as it comes. I mean, we will move quickly once we get a signed contract. Michael will be reaching out to each of you. We will get the emails from each of you. We find that we like the individual meetings so that we're not violating any open meeting law. And we get each one of your individual perspectives. Yes, you work as a group, but we put that all together so that you can vote on it as a group. And, you know, and it sounds like you're gonna be able to, in the next weeks, formulate the screening committee. So we're not worried about that.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin?
I have no more, I'm done, thank you.
Ms. Sebastian, do you have any questions, for Mary?
You're on mute,
Hold on,
and,
I'll do it.
okay.
I'll ask them.
And I think you muted.
So much pressure.
Is she muted or?
Yeah,
we
she's
muted?
muted.
Are you hosting, Hillary? You should be able to
Unmute
unmute.
her.
Just says ask to unmute.
Just click on her mute bucket,
Hi.
mic button.
All right, I'm unmuted.
Yes, you are.
Yay. See, Mary, I'm
Thank you,
not
Ann.
much better. I'm not good at this
I
either.
feel I'm in good company.
You are. What I was going to say is, I was very impressed by the whole, everything I read. And I think it would be smart of us not to say, oh, we want this done by. Let's not set a timeline. Let's do this with a precise way. You know, we do have a great screening committee. I wouldn't mind recommending them again. The other thing is our charter is very, very clear, very clear on how the town administrator is to be chosen and what the qualifications are. So, you know, I'm very, very, it's important to me that that's followed. So, but no, I think this is a great way to go. As I say, our screening committee was absolutely incredible last time. They worked so hard. They really did. So, but I don't want to set a timeline. I want this to be done correctly and I want to get the right person in. So to say we're going to, we're going to hurry up and get this done. That's silly. That's silly. So that's my opinion, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you. I was unaware, of course, we haven't really started yet, of the charter provision. So we will absolutely, you know, adhere to any bylaw or charter provisions that you have.
Thank you. Thank you. Because it was changed the last time around with the charter review and it was strengthened. So we want to make sure that's followed.
Mr. Sebastian, any other, comments you want to make or any other question you have for Mary?
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you. Just the one thing I'm gonna say, and then after that, I'm gonna actually ask Mr. Hennessy, you know, so when it comes to profile, Mr. Sebastian is absolutely right. So the charter by law, it's, obviously it's been updated and it's been approved recently. So, I think that Dennis will pass
Yeah,
the
we can
information to you. So
we can
our
copy that.
profile is, what requires us looking for a town administrator. It's all been, highlighted and then, it's already approved. So that's gonna be basically, the guidelines what we're looking for, just, that should be ready to go for you. And, that being said, I'm gonna, ask Mr. Hennessy if he has any questions.
You guys took my, took my statement about the
Okay.
town, the town charter.
Yeah.
You know, just, it has to, you know, go by that, you know, like I think, sort of Ashton said. And, the chairman pointed out, it has been revised.
Mhm.
So
So,
what we will do is we will look at the
Yep.
profile, we will look at the charter. And we do training and we say, never say but, we say and.
Mhm.
We want to make sure each one of you has spoken with us about your lens
Mhm.
of how you're looking at that.
Yep.
And that the profile represents each one of your lenses, just like you saying to your screening committee. We trust you, this is our roadmap and we want you to apply that lens. Now, if there's an absolute requirement, you know, master's degree, 5 years, Massachusetts, that will be in there.
Yep.
You know, but
Good.
you can say, oh, I said, but, and you can say that's what we need. But why is it important to one versus another? You know, what nuance, what competencies are we looking for? And I'm sure, I know that in recent searches, you've had people who have met your charter requirements. And yet they might not been the right fit. So we want to get at that understand, because potential candidates want to know you as well. So that's where we put a little bit of time up front in the profile, and it's really important, and it has served us well. Not that we're gonna reinvent the wheel. Their profile probably has the budget numbers. Although, was it this fiscal year when it was created?
The
First one was.
the profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only been done once. I'll send, do you have a
Oh.
copy of it? I'll make sure I get you a copy.
All right, that's fine.
It was updated very slightly when we went out the second time.
Okay.
But it had only been a year. Now it's been, I think the last time it went out was the summer of 23. The first time it went out.
So it needs a little tweaking, that's all, but it's not reinventing the whole thing for us, so
No.
that'll be fine. Great.
So I don't have any other question at the moment. I think we already asked the questions to you.
Great.
Dennis, can we?
No, it's
move?
great.
Okay.
We're good to go and.
Okay, so
I'll
can
be
I
in
make a
touch with
motion?
Mary. Yeah. I
Okay,
think, yeah.
and Mary, I appreciate it for your time.
Sure.
And I really appreciate it. And then, I think you're gonna help us greatly.
Well, I'm excited to help you, and I was glad to be able to come in person and not do this on, on Zoom, and, I mostly live in Shrewsbury. Like I said, I'm in a hotel this week because of my hardwood floors, but it's an easy ride, so, I'm an in-person kind of person, if you can't tell. All right, well, I wish you luck,
Thank you.
whatever you do, we'll hear from you, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right,
I'd
great.
like to make a motion.
I was gonna say that actually, I was gonna make it, but go ahead, Mr. Martinez.
I just would like to make a motion to retain the Edward J. Collins Junior Center for Public Management for our recruitment services for town administrator. They get one little thing that was just caveat on approval of the agreement that will be reviewed by KP Law. So we want KP Law to review the
Yep.
agreement, of course. And once everything's good with that, I think we should be good to go.
Second.
Okay, so we got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Perfect, ayes have it, and congratulations to all of us. So
Great.
that's the first process is done.
I would like to make a motion that we retain the same screening committee.
That was gonna be my next thing.
If they're still willing to do it, we need to reach out to them individually, make sure they're willing to put in the time. Commitment they did before, but they're not all here. I don't know if the others still want to go through this again, so I think we should at least reach out to them. And if anybody decides that they don't want to be part of the process, then we post that position available like we did in the past. And have them fill out an application and come before us.
So we do have one motion, and then I'm gonna ask another motion right after that. Anybody second that?
Second, John.
Okay, so we got first, we got second, and we'll ask I'm sorry, Mr. Sebastian.
I can hear you.
Okay, and so we'll ask the screening committee we used in the past if they would like to participate. And that will be great to appreciate it. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. And while we're talking on this subject, and also I would like to recommend somebody else to be considered in the screening committee as well. And I personally respect this person highly. And I think he's a phenomenal business person, as well as he has a great knowledge under his sleeves. And I would like to recommend Mr. Tony Corey to be part of the screening committee if everybody agrees upon it. And I think Mr. Corey has and had been dealt with very highly classified topics, as well as hirings through his experiences over the years. And that will be my motion. I would like to add Mr. Corey in the screening committee.
No problem. I have the utmost respect, Mr. Corey, but does that give us an even number? We should have an odd number if there's a recommendation. So I don't, so I think we have to ask the other committee members. I think Mr. Corey would be an unbelievable addition, but we have to ask
Absolutely.
the other members, if they're gonna get back, so we need to have an odd number. We can't have an even number committee. Okay?
Yeah, theoretically, you could go to 7 if you want.
Theoretically, we have to go to 7. So I think we have to, let's first before we make a motion to accept Tony, it's just formality. I don't think there'll be a problem, but we should ask the other members first. If they want, because then if not, then we don't have to worry about adding a seventh member. Tony can just pop in for the person that's not gonna rejoin the committee. So let's ask them first. I think you're jumping the gun a little bit.
I
Mr.
think we
Chair.
already made the motion, to ask the screening committee, we're gonna ask him, and then, we'll wait their answer. But I'd like Mr. Corey to be considered on the
Yeah.
screening committee as well. And, I made the motion, if anybody,
Second, Jim.
I'll second it.
okay, so we got first, we got second, and, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm in favor of Mr. Corey being on, but I think we have to reach out first. The
Yeah, that
procedural
will be,
thing.
we'll do two process.
Yeah.
And, so ayes have it, and, appreciate it if you guys can. I know you had questions, but I had to move this along, to make the formal, and then we'll have many times to ask questions. If anybody would like to make a quick remarks, you're more than welcome to. I can give you a minute, as well as Kristen, Tina, Mr. Roche, as well as Mr. Corey, if you'd like to add something, so I will give you a minute, otherwise I'm gonna move on to the agenda.
I only had a couple of comments based on what she had mentioned, one being the soft background as they received the resumes and that, and it was iffy of whether that would go to the screening committee ahead of time.
I think those are things that are gonna be flushed out in the
Right.
process already. Yeah,
That was just
Yeah.
one keynote that
yeah.
that came to mind, and then it was, everyone started talking about schedule, and there were no details of the schedule. of
We have
what you
one.
guys are looking
Yeah,
at.
they presented us a scope.
Yeah.
I can send it to the committee members.
But as Donnie brought up, of the, like, starting in April and that, because of town meetings and everything else, when you're searching for somebody in that regard, and I'm glad all of you guys kind of are in the concentric of, no, we have to find the right candidate, not within this set timeline. And that was all, that was, and it was, when would he start advertising based upon town meetings and that kind of came out around middle of April, based on where they are now and writing up things, and that was my big thing.
Yeah, so it's,
Just trying to kind of figure out what you guys are looking for a schedule.
I mean, we're doing everything step by step, obviously, we take the motion, we hire the company, and then KP Law is gonna look at the contract, and then we move forward, and then we'll get the ball rolling on that part. And that will be the only thing we can say at the moment, it's, anybody would like to add anything else, and otherwise I'm gonna ask Mr. Corey is gonna say
I just
something.
wanna add, I
Yeah.
know the schedule, like, I know we have to take our time to look, but one downfall we had was we lost candidates because we didn't move quick enough in the process, like, after we went through our interview process in executive session, it was trying to get them to meet you, so I think in that step, we have to move quicker.
So actually, that was one of the reasons actually we kind of going for the hybrid model this time, and then, it's, we tried it first, and then we'll learn from it, and we tried it second time, we'll learn from it. And I don't look at the things, in my personal life as well as, the process. I kind of agree with Mary. I'm not calling as a failure, it's a kind of unsuccessful and then learning process. And we'll learn from it, from the board process greatly, and then we add that in our toolbox now with the new company. And then with the screening committee, I think we're gonna have a succession this time around, and I'm very confident with that.
I just think we need to keep that back in mind. And
Yeah,
then the
absolutely.
one other thing I want to
Yeah.
add, and I don't mean any disrespect, but we've been following the meetings to know when this was coming up. Invitation, like, just let us know. Like, we invested so much time in the last phase. Just,
It's,
it's a simple communication. We're working together as a
so
team.
the process has to be done a certain way, it's obviously the first process was, it's obviously get the company in, get that ball rolling, and then after that, we were gonna invite you guys in.
Correct.
So if that was,
I know I
our.
keep bringing that up. and
I know
I'm
that,
not-
we really,
that was
don't-
a-
we didn't know this was gonna
Yeah.
come up.
It's just, I think we all
Yeah.
felt like it's on the agenda and no one reached out again.
It's, as I said, just the process is, the hiring the firm first. And then after that, because the model, we go on a hybrid model, and then, we were gonna invite you guys first. And then, just get we cannot really discuss it until we sign the contract.
Correct.
Yeah.
And, so it just, we need to do that. I'm just, out of respect, as I don't wanna hold all the time out of the, the
Again,
agenda
it
here.
was just,
Yeah,
we show up on our own, like, just communicating with each other. So
Appreciate, as I said, just we were gonna take it step by step and then we get the right answers and questions, so forth, so on, and then with the legitimate contract in our hand. Tina, you have anything you wanna say?
No, I think this is phenomenal. I'm glad that Christine brought the meeting and that this was gonna be discussed to my attention because I've kind of gotten busy and haven't been following it as much as I probably should. So I think everything that Mary had to say was fantastic. I think the blend of the two was a phenomenal way to go. And I'm looking forward to it.
Appreciate it. Mr. Corey, would you like to add something to it? And then
I
we'll
just
move on?
want to say a couple of words.
Yes, please, go ahead. Floor is yours.
I want to rewind you back to, Dennis, what year you started here?
1887.
1987.
Thanks.
I used to be the engineering manager for Raytheon. A good friend of mine, his name's Jim Frame, believe it or not. So he came in one day and he told me, Tony, I got my cousin, his name is Dennis, and he's applying for a town administrator.
Come on now, I was already here before you.
No.
Yeah, there's a new story. Try and say, he got me the job. There we go.
No, I didn't get you the job, but we,
Yeah.
I think Bassinet was there or something, one of those. But anyway, we got a good guy here and hopefully, the committee will, I don't know why you don't change your mind to stay another couple of years, but we'll do that. My experience, Raytheon, we hire from technician to manager to VPs. When I invented new technology, I went to San Diego, we hire a president to run my company in San Diego for 14 years. And so it should be straightforward, you guys have the requirement what you need. And we're gonna pick somebody that fit this requirement. I don't think he's a rocket scientist, but we should find the right one. We agree about it, the majority. And that's when we hand you the paper. This is what I understand. Shaheen, he mentioned it to me yesterday. And it's my pleasure to help the town. I'm not a politician to run for anything, but anything I can do for the town, it's my pleasure.
I appreciate it for your time and I appreciate it for everyone's time. Thank you, Mr. Corey.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Appreciate you
And,
getting me the job.
Well, you want it back?
Okay, the little laughs and then, little things, and then we got enough information, and then we move on to the next thing on the agenda, 745,000 discussion update. Our town planner and engineer, Rob Lucia, and Ed Pelletier, Executive Director of Bellingham Housing Authority, and if you can join us.
Evening.
How are you? How you doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good.
Good evening.
Yeah, so just a quick update. If you recall, a couple months ago, we were discussing the need for senior housing and specifically the Center Street parcel, which is currently owned by the Bellingham Housing Authority. So myself, Dennis, and Ed actually had a conversation with Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, or HLC, it's a mouthful. So really to discuss next steps, and really the crux of the discussion was regarding funding on how to move forward on getting something developed on these parcels, or this parcel, I should say. And it was a really good conversation. There are multiple funding sources that we can look into through the Community One Stop for Growth grants. Out of all of them, there were 3 that were really seemed to fit what we were looking for. There was one that was a community planning grant, which is really for the part of the project. And there's also a housing works infrastructure program, which is more grants for getting the site ready with infrastructure. But the one that seemed really good was the Housing Choice Grant Program, which I believe everyone's probably aware that Bellingham is a housing choice community. Means that we have some opportunities to utilize, which, Dennis, have we ever used anything?
It's helped with our community development block grants and other grants, certainly when we apply for MassWorks grants, it's a extra bonus points as well.
Gotcha.
So it's a great, at the time, we were one of 90 communities out of 300 51, I don't know how many have that designation now.
Yeah, but with that housing choice grant, it not only can fund the planning and zoning and due diligence of the development, but can actually fund site preparation, building and infrastructure. So that one I think would be the key one to look into. So as far as next steps go, ideally this week, I'd like to submit, it's the expression of interest for that community one stop for growth grant. And what that does is it basically, we submit a summary of what exactly we're looking to do. We already have the land acquired. And what HLC will do is look through all the grant options and basically figure out what will work best for our project. And I believe it's May is when the actual applications are due. So then once we get that expression of interest and we'll move forward to the actual application process. So, but that's pretty much the update. It was very promising with the discussion. Now we have contacts with HLC, which is half the battle. So, yeah, any questions? I don't know, Ed, if you have anything to add.
I don't have any question. Anybody has a question?
How many units do you think we could house at this complex?
That's what this grant will help us
Yeah.
determine. That's
Yeah.
part of this whole process.
Yeah.
What's the potential dollar value of the grant? And can we divide it up into, let's say it's a 300,000, can we put 100,000 into site prep work and move it, can we do it like that? I'm just curious what these dollar amounts are.
Yeah, I don't have that information,
okay.
but what if we, so for example, if we ended up getting the housing choice grant, for example, and they allocated a certain amount of money for it, we would have to work on allocating the certain things. And that's why it might make sense, depending on how the funding works, is just to take care of the due diligence and get this thing designed. And then that way, you know, if it makes sense to go forward with the actual
Another grant.
building grant, we'll have more of an idea of what the cost is gonna be.
That's great. No, that was all.
Sam, is
Yeah,
there a question?
this is for Mr. Pelletier. What's the wait list look like and what's the turnover rate for Bellingham?
The turnover rate, it depends, it varies. One year you could have 6 units, one year you could have 8 units, one year you could have 2 units.
Are these-
Depends on how they
are
come
they-
and go.
are
Most
they
of them, there's only a couple places where they go.
I was gonna ask,
Once they reach the housing, most of the time, there's only,
assisted
places.
living or
that's just, yes.
the
So
funeral?
pretty much most of the time, that's it. I can tell you, right now, the Bellingham Housing has 143 interested in elderly housing,
So
and
we
that's
have 100
Bellingham residents.
We have 140 feet residents alone,
Yes,
and how many non-residents?
8,000 and something, so.
And then you have a combination of the disabled, folks with disabilities and veterans, they take
I
priority.
can tell you right now, we have 5 local veterans that are waiting.
Okay,
We have 82 veterans, which could be anywhere,
Anywhere.
it's not just Bellingham itself. And we have actually 56 locals, all waiting for elderly. We have 27 waiting for handicap.
how about families?
We only have,
We have one family unit in town, correct?
we have 2, we have a duplex and we have a house,
How many people are waiting for those?
a lot. Because that, once they get there, they don't move either, because their rents are so low.
It's a third of their income, 30%?
Yeah, a third, yeah, yep.
Okay.
So, and like, we do have vouchers, but once again, those don't move too often
No.
too, because we have vouchers, one of them is called the MRVP, the mobile voucher, they can go and live wherever they want. And then they also started with a new AHVP, which was only 10. And they can live, but there's certain, you have to be under 59, you have to meet certain criteria.
And they still have to go through the certification yearly, correct?
Oh, absolutely. They all go through a screening. We'll see them all before they go to the screening, most of them, but we get, numbers of where we have to take them in by the screening process, which is done by the state. It's called ASG, that they have a central place.
But you do like the bank statements and all the income statements and everything.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep, we do the quarry checks, we do all.
yeah.
Those family units, are they 3 bedrooms?
No. The one on Center Street, it's a duplex, there's only 2 bedrooms on each side, and Arthur Street is 4.
And everything is done by the state, correct? You guys really just facilitate everything? All the
Yes,
decisions?
we're governed by the state. Oh, absolutely, yeah, we got rules and regulations
Well,
that we have to
needs
follow.
Turn it back over to municipalities, I think.
And those are just the units they have, of course, Section 8 housing, there are.
Right,
hundreds
yeah,
and hundreds
I
of people
mean,
in town, they get vouchers that have the same benefits,
Yeah.
if you don't own them.
we actually don't handle the Section 8 in Bellingham anymore, it's Dedham that handles Bellingham's Section 8.
Dedham handles us?
Dedham, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sebastian, please.
Rob, I have a question. The 2 housing developments we have were also built with federal funding. Originally.
Yeah, your Depot Court and Rentham
Yeah.
Manor.
So
Yep.
now, is there anything from the federal government that we could get? Of course, that's like a wild question in these days, but, is there any other federal loans that we could go for or federal grants?
So I am not entirely sure. I know what you just mentioned about in wild times, I think it would be better to go through the state with HLC because you're going to see much more response than if you went with trying to find federal grants.
Yeah.
Did you by any chance look in, because I know is your funding's through the federal,
Through, well, DHCD, it's actually.
It's federal money, but it's all funded through HLC.
Gotcha.
So it all
Alright,
comes
so-
through that.
Oh, all right.
I
Okay.
just had a point, so these grants, we're all getting these because the town approved the MBTA communities grants. If the town didn't approve this grant, we wouldn't be eligible for this, correct?
Well, it's based on housing development over a period of time. The state looks at what, 6 years, Rob? And they look at your performance over a period of time for creating housing. And obviously, we've had a lot of housing creation
Yeah.
over the last 7 or 8 years. We were designated, I think, 2 or 3 years ago as a housing choice community based on the number of housing starts we had over the previous 5 years.
I mean,
So it's all about not just MBTA, but certainly if we weren't compliant with MBTA together, we would not be.
okay,
Correct.
that's what I
Yeah.
that's what I wanted.
Absolutely.
Now, can I ask another question, Mr. Chairman?
Absolutely, Mr. Sebastian, please.
So now, let me ask you this. So where we are looking at that property up on Maple Street, does it make sense for us to combine all of this and try and get that together? Or is it just safer to just do the one section at a time?
Property on Maple Street.
The one that we're
Country
going
Club.
to get through the Maple Gate?
We won't really have title to that for at
No.
least, I mean, best case this summer. And these grants are due, submitted in May, statement of interest shortly, and then May submittal. So that nothing says we can't follow up next year and do it again on
Okay.
another project, but yeah.
Okay.
We're
All
gonna
right.
do it all at once.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Do we need to make a
Thanks.
motion on this, or?
I think just a vote of support to support the town planner's statement of interest and
So no motion required?
yeah. It's not required, but I think it's a good thing to have on the record.
I'll make the motion to support, Mr. Lucier and Mr. Pelletier's, pursuit of, these grants for housing development on Center Street.
We got first, we got second.
Oh.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Five, no, ayes have it.
And keep up the good work. I know your job
Mr.
is,
Stone,
I know your
before
job
you
is not easy.
Thank you.
I deal with your counterpart in another municipality every day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Makes it interesting.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
No problem. So the next one is, bid awards, I believe, we got Jesse. Hi, Jesse.
Good evening. How's
Yours,
everybody
right?
doing? Yes.
Okay. What was yours, my friend?
Okay, great. We've got a
Thank
couple
you.
bit of,
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
I moved, that contract 2025 TSMR traffic signal maintenance repair be awarded to the low bidder, Pine Ridge Technologies, Inc. of North Reading, Mass.
I second.
We got first, we got second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
I move that contract 2024 SLDR Silver Lake Dam repairs be awarded to the low bidder, P Ford Company, Inc. of Georgetown, Mass.
I second.
Perfect. We got first, we got second, all in favor, say aye.
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 You want to do it, Don? You want me to get this one?
If you have it, just go ahead.
I move the board approve the request and add streetlight on pole number 13 at 83 Plymouth Road as recommended by Bellingham's Traffic Advisory Committee.
Second.
We got first, we got second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Ayes have it. Abatements, anybody would like to,
Hold on, we got a few of them, sorry.
I think we
You can
got
just-
those other ones.
Yeah, you can just
Yeah,
do.
I will make a motion to approve the DPW abatements, November 2024, December 2024, and January 2025, as stated by the DPW.
Second, Jen.
Second.
We got first, we got second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Ayes have it.
Jesse, I think this is the easiest meeting you've ever attended with us.
Yeah.
Okay.
my goodness, I guess we had enough information in the packets. That's great.
Mhm.
Good work,
Thank
Jesse.
you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye, Jess.
Thanks,
Have a good
Jess.
night.
Good night, Jesse.
I think the next one is vote to send the article entitled amend zoning bylaws, chapter 20, article 2040, article 6 on the annual town meeting warrant to the planning board for review in accordance with Mass General Law, chapter 40A, section 5, and planning board procedural rules, section 2.1.
So moved.
Second, Jen.
We got first, we got second.
A little background on this, Rob?
I believe this one is actually Board of Health.
This is the
No,
Board
it's
of
not
Health
Board of
one?
Health. This is the one that we recommended last week.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
the live
Thank
stuff.
you. I haven't
Live
read it,
stuff,
so thank you.
The next
Stop.
two, you'll get as much background as you want.
Okay.
So, to go back to, so we got the first, we got second. All in favor, say aye. If you don't
Aye.
have a problem.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. So the next one is, we know the Rob is gonna cover that if you have any questions. Vote to send the article entitled amend zoning bylaws, chapter 240, article 16 on the annual town meeting warrant to the planning board for review in accordance with Mass General Law, chapter 40A, section 5, and planning board procedural rules, section 2.1.
So moved.
You got second? Or-
Second.
Okay. We got first, we got second. Any questions before we take the vote? Mr. Martinez?
Background, please.
So,
Well, for the folks that may be listening, I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
helpful for them to have background.
yeah, so this one is for our special flood hazard area. The FEMA maps have been updated. I think the last time they were updated was 2012. So now they've been updated, so we have to update our regulations with the new FEMA firm panels. As well as there were some additional regulations from FEMA that we had to add to our
Yeah,
bylaws.
yeah.
So those have been reviewed by the FEMA administrator in Massachusetts, which for us, it's DCR. They reviewed the language, they've approved them, so until they give us the okay, we weren't really allowed to send it to town meeting, so. But we're good, and we're ready to send it to town meeting for the vote to update the regulations.
So we have the first, we got the second. No other questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Ayes have it.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to send article entitled amend zoning bylaw, chapter 240, article 7 on the annual town meeting warrant to the planning board for review in accordance with Mass General Law, chapter 40A, section 5, planning board procedural rules, section 2.1.
So moved.
Second?
We got first, we got second. Do we want to get a
Yeah,
background on
no
that?
background,
So let's do that.
Yeah. I think-
Rob?
Yeah, so this one is actually for the accessory dwelling units, which could go into quite a bit of detail here, but basically, the state has passed legislation to allow accessory dwelling units by right in single-family zoning districts. So we no longer can utilize the family apartment bylaw that we had, because that was through a special permit with the ZBA. So what we've done is update that section to include, it's really draft language from the state, based on the regulations from HLC for the accessory dwelling units. So we anticipate this will actually have to be updated again when the final regulations come out, but we are doing this to be proactive and get the language, because there's really not a whole lot of guidance for these accessory dwelling units currently, so that's the update. And this, I should mention too, the two articles that we mentioned are sponsored by the planning board. This one was actually crafted. There was a lot of work put in by the zoning bylaw review committee. So I give them all credit for dealing with me and the state regulations for quite a long time, so.
Perfect. So that's the background. So we have the first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Have it? Perfect.
And just as an FYI, anytime there is a zoning bylaw change,
Yep,
this is the procedure. Once an article is presented to the select board, it has to be sent to the planning board
planning board.
for review and public hearing.
So this is just procedural.
This is procedural, yeah.
Thank you. So the next one is sign an annual town meeting warrant.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask you to sign the town meeting warrant and make a motion to send it to the chairman of the finance committee.
So moved.
Motion. Okay, go ahead, Ian.
I think she said so moved.
I've said here that, I've been reading all night. I said so moved.
Yeah.
So moved, okay, so, that was the motion, or do we,
Yeah.
that was the motion,
Yeah,
right?
just need to
So-
say.
Yeah, just second.
Okay.
Yep, Don seconded.
Seconded, and we have first, we have second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Have it.
Hillary, I can come in and sign it maybe the end of the week.
I just have to post it. The constable's coming Friday morning, so,
All right, I'll come in before then.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Sebastian.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve all of the town administrator annual appointments that were presented to the board.
As presented.
As presented to the board.
Perfect. Anybody second that?
Second,
Perfect. We have first, we have second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Ayes have it. You want to read the next one, too?
I have an issue with the next one.
Oh, okay. So hold on a second.
There's one.
They're separate, right? Okay.
There's one particular part of that I want to highlight, just for clarification from town council.
Okay.
So
You
why
could
don't
make
we,
a motion and just accept for, and we could vote
Oh,
on
okay,
everything, except for whatever the exception is.
Yeah, all right, stand by 1 second, hold on.
Okay.
I guess I'll be the bad guy. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to present all of the select board annual appointments with the exception of Miss Alina Almeida. I think is that correct, or am I doing the wrong one?
That's the wrong one.
Okay, Deborah Bush. I would like town council to review the appointment of Deborah Bush to the Board of Health due to 2 people living in the same residence. Possible conflict of interest.
Well, the motion is for all of them with the exception of that one.
Yes, sir.
You said to be reviewed by town council, so town council has no problem with it, you're okay with that
Town
person?
council has no problem with it. I will
Okay,
get
that should, yeah, should be.
Okay.
Well, we'll come back to the
we
board.
come back.
Come back
to
in.
that.
Back to the
Yeah.
board again, yeah. And then, so that's the motion.
Just 2 people in the same residence. I just-
Second, so we have second, we have first, we have second. If there's no other questions, all in favor, say aye.
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 Have it.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
So, you're approving as presented,
Mhm.
with the exception of Deborah Bush, because we want it to be reviewed by KP Law.
Yep.
With regards to Alina Almeida as a new applicant for the Board of Health, are you appointing her to the Board of Health?
Yes.
Okay, can we make that effective March 19th? Because they have a meeting tomorrow.
I will amend my motion. Ms. Elena Almeida will be appointed to the Board of Health March 19th.
Okay, yeah, in her term, now that the board is a 5-member board. We need 2 to expire, 1 year, 2 to expire the next year, and then 1 to expire on the, that 3rd year. So either Elena needs to be appointed to either a 2 or a 3-year term.
She's the first one, so I would think she
Three.
would.
I was gonna say that, yeah, whoever
Three.
applied the first goes to 3 years and another one goes to the 2.
That's
That
how
would
we
be my
typically do it.
logical
How we
thing.
typically do.
Yeah,
it.
okay.
I wasn't sure about that.
Is that okay?
So
Yes.
Deborah Bush
Yeah, that
applied
makes
first.
sense.
So Deborah Bush, then until we get the answer from. KP Law.
I say give Elena the 3 years because she's the one that we're approving.
Right.
That's what we just said.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's perfect.
But
Okay,
she said, Mrs. Bush applied
First, so I just
first,
want to.
but we're approving,
We're approving,
I'll
you
do
Yeah,
know,
so he will approve them first and then goes to the 3
she
years.
goes to 3
3
years.
years, okay,
Okay.
perfect. So we clear that. I appreciate it for everyone's comment. And so the next one is gonna be under the old business, town administrator update of the community.
I'm sorry, the signing of the warrant, did you want?
Yep.
You already did it.
Yes, we
Oh, you
did.
already did. I'm sorry, I'm a step behind.
We moving.
All right, Community Preservation Act, we have a lot of discussion on, and have had a lot of discussion with the Open Space Committee, and there's a misconception that the town can approve what's known as a tax surcharge of between 1% and 3%. If we chose 2.5%, it'd be like what our levy goes up every year with Proposition 2.5. It can only be used for certain things. And what I'll do is I'll send you the link. I was gonna print it out, but it's very voluminous, so I'll send it out. The misconception is the state will match whatever it is we raise. So 2.5% for Bellingham is well over $1 million if we were to adopt that for open space. The match this year was 18%. So it's certainly not, it's matching funds, but not of equal amount. So I think that's very important when we look to talk about, adopting the Community Preservation Act. It has dropped off dramatically over the years. I'm not saying we shouldn't appoint a committee, but if we do, I think it should be with the understanding that it's a 2-step process. It's gonna be approved by town meeting.
Yeah.
And then to a referendum question. So the idea would be to have it approved by town meeting in November, because it'd be too late to put it on the May warrant. And then, of course, the ballot question would be next June, no matter what. It couldn't be this May regardless, even if it was on the town meeting. So that's the general information. We had a conversation about it at the last meeting, and I will get you copies of the information. We don't have to make a decision tonight, but I just wanted to give you an update on the information that we have in hand.
I appreciate that
Yeah.
because, it's, I think the conception was everybody was like, when it started, everybody was getting a pretty much 100% match.
Yeah.
And now the pie is getting, I think, smaller because more towns are in it.
Right.
But it seems like, it's getting smaller and smaller. I don't know, it's, I mean, to be honest with you, the more I thought about it, I wasn't in favor to it, but now I'm looking at it, I don't know. What kind of reward we're gonna get out of it, it's, I mean, it will be something, but I don't know, so I think that's something needs to be revisited until we get everything.
I think it's kind of a slap in the face that they just kind of reduce what the state's gonna give us.
Mr. Chairman?
The way the law works, it's a bucket of money, and it's distributed amongst the communities that are actually participating.
That's why.
So it's not like they're cutting it back, just the more communities that participate,
Yeah, they get more going to the well.
the
is
more
like,
it's spread out. I'm sure the other communities will be pleased that Bellingham did not participate. But, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, it's just
Yeah.
understanding that it's not 100%. And
Yeah.
it is a 2-step process, so we have plenty of time to talk about it, but as, as Simon said previously, Chairman had said previously, if we were going to approach this, it should be with a committee to advocate for it.
Mrs. Otabashian, I think, was trying to get our attention.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, as I've read about this, there are also several communities that have gotten out of it because of just that. Because
okay.
the amount that was matched was not anywhere what they thought it was going to be. And it
Mhm.
became more of a liability to the residents than it was
Yeah.
worth. So I think it's very important that we really research this carefully, because
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of adding any other taxes onto my residents. I think we need to, be very, very cautious. I'm very nervous about this. I don't like this program.
It's a nice thought.
Yeah.
But I'm on board with it, with Ms. Otabashian on this one. I mean, do our research, do our homework. I think, that there's nothing wrong with that. But long term, if there's really, I don't, not for increasing taxes for
No,
anybody.
I don't think the return is proportionally equal
Yeah.
to what we're asking the residents
Yeah.
to add
Yeah.
2.5 or 3%. I don't think we can look across the board. We have other tax revenue
Yeah.
coming in to help the town. We, think of all
Yeah.
the industrial and commercial buildings that have done. at this point, if it was 25 or 40%,
It was worth
it
it.
might be worth it, but 18, and it's just gonna get worse.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah,
I mean, if something
Yep.
changes, we still get the data, and then if something changes, we can revisit it, we can revisit it in the future,
Are you in favor of doing a?
I think we should do a committee,
Okay.
because it might change. What if 20 communities decide to drop out, and all of a sudden it's 40%?
I mean, it's up to you,
I think we
that
should, there are a lot, there's a fair amount of people that are interested,
Yeah, but
that
we
are
had that meeting.
proponents of it. They
I
are.
mean, that's why I wanna bring that up, and then the Dennis was kind enough to get the information, if you wanna,
And we'll certainly send the link out with the information, but the other point.
Yeah.
It is 18%. One of the nuances is. In the law, let's say we decided that we wanted to purchase a piece of open space. We adopted at 1%, so we're just a 1% community. We get reimbursed based on 1%. We could theoretically, let's say we decide we're gonna buy a piece of open space for $1 million.
Yeah.
We can throw that $1 million into that bucket, if you will, and the state will give us a match of 18% based on the 1% plus the $1 million. So there are opportunities there
oh,
that can be beneficial,
Mhm.
but I just think the biggest misconception has been that it almost sounded like it was 100% match, and it's not. So there's a lot to it. I mean, the guidelines for the program are about 1 inch thick, to put it in perspective. There's a lot of information there. But the biggest point is, it's not a match, and if
Yeah.
there are people out there that do want to look into it further, and, if they wanna do the homework and come back and make a presentation, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I just think it's important that the board understands
I'm,
what
as I said,
the matches.
I'm all ears, and if you wanna create something, yeah, I'm open for it, but I don't think it will be a great idea at the moment, just to reward, what we're gonna get out of it. But if you wanna visit it on the next meeting, we can, it's completely up to the
Let's go
rest of the
see it.
board.
I'll see the link
Let's
first.
see if that
Okay.
first.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
get that out.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Dennis, on that,
That is the only other thing, we continue to go through as you know, the budget is
Yeah.
a living document, unfortunately, it lives up until town meeting. So we continue to make some adjustments, obviously, none of the adjustments will be effective until I bring them before the full board for ratification, but there are some things with different line items that we've had to make adjustments. Nothing that affects anything dramatically, but as we get those, we'll present them to the board.
perfect, so if there's nothing else from administrator, and then the next one will be the new business. I know we got some things on the new business, Hillary.
Yes, if I need to have the board, will approve the common victualler license for the Bellingham Youth Baseball Program for April 1st through November 30th of this year, and usually we waive the fee.
Yeah, you can do.
Okay.
Oh, Jen, thank you.
We have, that's the motion, right?
Yeah, correct.
And then we got second,
Second.
we got first, we got second. Any questions to discuss regarding this matter? If not, all in favor say aye.
aye.
Ayes have it. Perfect. Anything else on the new business?
I don't have anything.
Anybody?
The only thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know, is, I heard that, that Mr. Salisbury, of the planning board, of the zoning board, and of the zoning bylaw review committee submitted his resignation because he's taken a new position as a judge in the probate courts. I think it's outstanding. I heard this last week. And that, which means that, I know I spoke with Dennis briefly when I heard this, that, that leaves a vacancy, but I think the planning board and the select board will have to make an appointment together, correct, Dennis?
My understanding is a joint
A
appointment.
joint appointment, and the only thing is Liz Bertholet has been an associate member. She's an outstanding individual. It hasn't come before us,
Yeah.
but it is gonna come before us, and I just want to say publicly that she absolutely has my complete full support to take on that. When, I don't know when Brian's last day is or anything along those lines, but I just wanted to say that out loud. And then that also opens up a committee member position on that bylaw review committee as well, because Brian is on there today. He won't be able to continue serving. He's resigned from that as well. So that I'm sure that there'll be some folks that want to be on that committee that will come before us
It's fine if anybody's
for the
interested in
board.
that.
And- Well, I know one already. He's on the planning board and he's the one that kind of had the initial idea. Mr. Goyette, he's definitely interested, in that, but I think he has to talk with the planning board members as well before.
It's fine, if any interested, we will definitely
Yeah.
hear it, and then you
Yeah.
guys, one thing about the list. We did phenomenal work with her, at the MBTA,
Right.
community, work, and I definitely, it's, she'll definitely get my vote on that.
I'm sure she's interested, Rob, right? Have you guys had discussions? I let the cat out of the bag too early.
It
Very,
just came up, Thursday.
Last week,
yeah, it came up
Thursday.
on Thursday, so very limited conversation,
okay.
so, but, stand by, we'll
Yeah.
figure it out. We need to definitely fill the planning board
Yeah, for
seat
sure.
ASAP, because as you know,
Yeah.
we're very busy.
We're very, very busy, so that's why I brought it up, so that if you weren't aware, you should be aware, and because there's a lot going on.
And there will also be a vacancy, or there is a vacancy on the zoning board of appeals as well, which is also important to
Yes.
know. So,
Mhm.
and that one, that's just an appointment.
That's
through
just an appointment by
so,
the select board. Yeah.
so.
Yeah, the planning board will have to be advertised and have a joint meeting, right, for that one, I think.
Not for the advertising requirement,
Well,
but the joint meeting, you're right, it'd have to be. on the
Posted.
I'd have to
agenda,
post it on
Has
the
to be
website.
posted.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And then the zoning one, it would have to be filled by another planning board member, because that's how
Yes.
we stacked it.
That's
right?
exactly right.
Yeah.
It will have to be filled by a planning board member.
Yeah.
So let them
Let them figure
work
that
it out.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Martinez?
No, that's it. Thank you
Anything
very
else,
much.
Mr. Hennessy?
Yeah, I just wanted to state, last weekend, I'm not sure if anybody is aware, I had my ride-along with Bellingham Police. No, very, very peaceful shift, uneventful, but I did learn a lot. I got my first official station tour, from Sergeant Ayotte, and I got to see the, booking process from the other side of booking. The other.
Oh, so you've been on this side? of the
No.
book, is what
No.
you're saying? Now you get to see it from the police side?
No, I don't want to see it from the police side.
It's kind of how you said it, though.
Sergeant Ayotte brought me through the entire process.
On that, are you trying to say that was the first time you sat on the front seat?
Yeah, I think so.
No, actually, sadly, it has not been the first time I sat in the front seat of a cruiser. Every touch of truck, I hop in the front seat. But no, I've never been on the receiving end of it. But it was very, very insightful. They were very excited. One officer, I think, made the comment that in his 30 years in the department, no elected official has ever opted to ride along.
I did with Jerry Daigle when I first started.
Oh, okay.
So they just didn't know.
They didn't know.
Yeah, I did, absolutely.
But it was, I mean, I kind of said, I'm like, it's one thing seeing the ticketing up 63%. I'm like, it's one thing to see it on a spreadsheet, but it's different to be on the front seat of the cruiser. With Officer Kelsey running plates and explaining that, how they have to switch screens multiple times when they're running a plate because they're two separate systems, which I never knew. And then, the radio issue, I think, was the most concerning part of it, where not only can they not talk to Woonsocket, they can't talk to Blackstone. And I think, for a safety standpoint, that's very concerning. And when I came in after and talked to Dennis and Hillary, it just kind of said, wow, it's pretty concerning that every officer said the same thing. That, no, we can't talk to Blackstone. Oh, we can't talk to Woonsocket. I'm like, well, what happens? Because I live off of Pulaski and I hear the police chases. What happens when it ends up into Blackstone or ends up into Woonsocket? And they just kind of said, we have to go through our dispatch. So it was very informative. Every sitting member of the select board has the opportunity to ride along. If anybody wants to ride along, it was very, very, very real when Officer Kelsey threw the vest at me and said, "Here, put this on." So I think, I know, and I think even you're welcome to ride along if you want to hop in a cruiser and hit the streets of Bellingham.
Well, you know what? Many, many moons ago, when I was first on the board, I
Never had
did
horse
do it.
riding.
Actually, I was in the fire department gear too, learning how to use the things that separated the car. I've learned a lot through my
Oh,
years.
Yeah, but no, it was great. As I was leaving, one officer was very upset. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to show you the 62%." When he explained his process, and he came from Boston Housing Police. So I told the chief I might have to take him up on one night just to kind of See, and even the chief said, when I took a Saturday morning, he was like, why are you taking a Saturday morning? He's like, all the fun stuff happens, and then as soon as I leave, they had a very interesting shift, so.
I don't think I could stay awake at night to go at nighttime. We'd have to go mornings.
The adrenaline might keep you awake.
I'll tell you what, it was, you would probably be a perfect ride for Officer Kelsey. It was great. It was great. She's very, very knowledgeable, very friendly. It was great. She's a great addition to our department.
Excellent, that's very.
I'll reach out to, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you very much.
problem.
Is there anything- Anybody else have anything else? Perfect. I think this conclude our agenda for the evening, and I'd like to make a motion to end the meeting.
Second?
We got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you very much for your time. Have a fantastic evening. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Good night, Ann.